What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we've got another live fantasy football mock draft for you back on Yahoo with a 12-team half-point PPR mock where we will be selecting from that 12th final overall position, so should be pretty entertaining. And while this thing loads, if you guys enjoy, hit that like button, subscribe, let us hear it in the comments section. Do you like the roster? Do you have any other questions? We will make sure to answer them all. And lastly, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. While you're there, get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Everything you could want and more. Details in the description. But with that being said, let's get into this draft. The first couple of picks have been made, and this is probably one of the first times where Christian McCaffrey isn't the first overall pick. You see Derrick Henry. Usually I say 99.99% of the time, Christian McCaffrey is the 101 across whatever the format might be. Well, I guess this is the 0.01% because Derrick Henry is the guy. Now, I've made the case that in standard formats, Derrick Henry over Christian McCaffrey, but in any type of PPR scoring, I would have Christian McCaffrey. Now, again, that's not to say that Derrick Henry doesn't belong in the top three conversation, but I do think McCaffrey is the safer, more consistent play. Now, afterwards, Christian McCaffrey goes at number 2. That is a, duh pick. Then Dalvin Cook, again, makes sense. Jonathan Taylor, a little bit too rich for my blood, but I understand the logic. Half-point PPR, he's probably a little bit more standard suited, so he gets a little bit of a bump there. Then you see some of the typical names. You see an Ezekiel Elliott, you see an Alvin Kamara. Very good value for Alvin Kamara there at number 6. Now, that's going to leave over some guys like Saquon Barkley, like Nick Chubb. I doubt any of them fall to us at number 12. I'd be shocked if that's the case. And there you see it, Saquon Barkley goes at number 7. But honestly, those aren't the guys that we really are targeting. We could go probably wide receiver back to back. We could go some really intriguing running backs. We can switch things up and go with a Travis Kelce early on if we have that opportunity. We'll kind of play it by year. Right now, after Barkley, you saw Nick Chubb, you saw Stephon Diggs. So I believe Stephon Diggs is the first wide receiver off the board. Then kind of a run on that position. Tyreek Hill is drafted. So 2 wide receivers back-to-back. Devontae Adams is still there. There goes Travis Kelce. So we will not be going, tight end early on. And right now, here, honestly, I'm just going to take my 2 highest ranked players. I'm not going to overthink it. I actually think that right now we're in a good spot. And I'm going to go with Devontae Adams with one of these first 2 picks. He is the highest ranked wide receiver left on my list. Yes, going running back was very tempting, but I do think the value on Devontae Adams was better. And here, I'm going to take my favorite running back for 2021. That is Austin Eckler. Sure, not ranked as highly in half-point PPR, but not by all that much. I love what the Chargers have been doing. I've kind of been avoiding taking Austin Eckler here in these last couple of mock drafts that you guys have probably seen. He's been a guy that I just absolutely hammered home 2 months ago, 3 months ago when we first started doing these mock drafts because, again, I wanted to get out ahead of a lot of these other analysts and show you guys how good Austin Eckler is to take advantage of the value while you still could. And that's exactly what we're doing here. He's someone that I would be taking, in the first round, no doubts about it. And after Austin Eckler, you see Cam Akers. So definitely Akers was a guy that we were considering if we hadn't taken Devontae Adams. Probably him, Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon would have been in that conversation if we went running back. Then DeAndre Hopkins, Aaron Jones as well. And, speaking of Aaron Jones, and, I'll put Devontae Adams in this category. I say this every single video, but the Green Bay Packers, don't worry about Aaron Rodgers returning. He's going to be there. He's not leaving Green Bay, and all these guys are going to be great. And, if by, some fluke chance Aaron Rodgers doesn't play for Green Bay in 2021, I think we got the safer of the two players. Devontae Adams is still a wide receiver one. Yes, he takes a hit, but he's still going to be a top 12 wide receiver in my opinion. Now, afterwards, you see a run on some running backs after Aaron Jones, Antonio Gibson, who I really like as well. Najee Harris, again, a mid-second rounder. I just don't like that value for Najee Harris. Too many question marks on that offensive line. Right now, just not every single rookie can be the next Saquon Barkley. That's what I continue to tell people. Then DK Metcalf, Joe Mixon, Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown, and Justin Jefferson. And let's quickly take a look at this big board, I should say, with the last couple of picks. So again, you saw a lot of running backs in the middle portion of the second round. Then came kind of a run on wide receivers. DK Metcalf, pancaked in between him and Calvin Ridley was Joe Mixon. But then Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson. And there goes Patrick Mahomes. Talk about a draft that I absolutely hate by the person picking first overall. Derrick Henry, usually it's tough to mess up the first overall pick, but you go Derrick Henry over Christian McCaffrey. Then you reach on a quarterback with your second round selection when you could take a quarterback 5, 6, 7 rounds later. And, the drop-off at other positions is a lot quicker. And then Miles Sanders, another running back that is absolutely on the bust list as far as running backs are concerned. The running back by committee potential there in Philadelphia, the Jalen Hurts, rushing ability. I'm just staying away from Miles Sanders overall. Then you see George Kittle being selected, tight end number 2 here for, this mock draft. Personally, I've said this before, I would rather have, Darren Waller 10 times out of 10 over George Kittle. Then you see DeAndre Swift, a little bit too early in my opinion for DeAndre Swift. Again, since this isn't full point PPR. Michael Thomas, I love the value on Michael Thomas. I really like that wide receiver pairing here for this team, Calvin Ridley and Michael Thomas. If Michael Thomas was there for us at the end of the third round, I would have been doing cartwheels. It's happened before because, I've counted my blessings that I have the option to take Michael Thomas that late in a mock draft because, guys, Michael Thomas was being drafted as the consensus number 1 wide receiver last season. The guy was hurt. That's why he didn't produce. Other than that, he's one of the most consistent wide receivers in fantasy football. It's not going to all of a sudden get flipped. As long as he's healthy, the guy will be sensational. After that, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, a running back that I was really hoping would get to us. Really good value there. Then Keenan Allen, J.K. Dobbins. I don't like that pick. At this point in time, you guys probably know what running back I'm hoping for, and he just gets drafted in Chris Carson. Darren Waller just goes, someone that I was also really considering. So 2 guys that were high on our list that we just kind of got sniped on, and we are in a precarious situation here because, we probably have to go running back with one of these picks, and I'm between David Montgomery and Myles Gaskin. I'm probably going to have to go with David Montgomery here because I think his upside for volume is just higher. Now, we can go another running back here yet again, but to me, that would be a reach. I'd rather go a wide receiver. Wide receivers, Julio Jones is still there for us. I really like that value at the start of the 4th round. I also don't mind a Robert Woods, a Cooper Kupp. But I'm going to go with Julio Jones opposite A.J. Brown. I think he has got low-end wide receiver 1 upside. And right now, we're crafting a very, very balanced roster. The first 4 rounds, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs. And the tough part with, one of these first or last picks, no matter your league size, is you're going to have to reach a little bit on guys because you're probably waiting either 20 to, 23, 24 picks in between your next selection, something like that. And, there's no chance in hell that a Cooper Kupp falls to us. So if we decided to go Cooper Kupp there, it would have been absolutely justified. And in the same breath, we can't really avoid getting a running back. We can't really wait for that because the running back position is going to get siphoned off here within the next couple of rounds. So you have to, you just really have to go with a situation where you take the roster construction into account, and also the space in between your picks. A lot more strategy with one of these first or final picks, because you won't necessarily get good value dropping to you as often. You still will, but not nearly as often as if you're picking in the middle of your draft. But after a Julio Jones selection, let's see some of these other names. You see Amari Cooper, again, a good option there over in Dallas with Dak Prescott returning healthy. Then Josh Jacobs, Josh Allen, the second quarterback off the board. So again, just as an example, you see where Patrick Mahomes goes, then you see where the next quarterback goes. The second quarterback goes a round and a half later. That's probably where the first quarterback should have been taken. Then afterwards, a run on wide receivers. Adam Thielen, CeeDee Lamb, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. This is probably one of the later spots I've seen Chris Godwin and Mike Evans go at this point in the fourth round. It's probably more accurate to what it should be, probably a round later. But again, they go one right after the other. You're never going to see Antonio Brown in that trio with them, which should be the case, but it's not. It is what it is, though. Then Robert Woods, great value on Robert Woods towards the end of the fourth round. I would have taken Robert Woods at the start of the fourth round. Then you see DJ Moore. So right now, it's kind of that run on wide receivers, because you look at these running backs and none of them, other than probably Myles Gaskin and Mike Davis, have that RB1, upside, and RB1 is being generous. I should say, first and foremost, starting running back upside, and then, a low-end RB1 finish potential. But, speaking of Myles Gaskin, he's drafted. Chase Edmonds being drafted there. I hate that pick. Yeah, to me, that is an absolute reach for Chase Edmonds. Let's quickly look at all the players that are still left. I will mention something here quickly. TJ Hawkinson, probably the first pick that I like for team number one. Only took him 5 rounds, but it finally happened. Again, I was considering TJ Hawkinson in the 4th round, but I knew there were just some other positions that were a little bit more important. I had to get running back. I had to look at wide receiver. I can get some other really good tight ends later on. Guys like a Kyle Pitts, guys like a Dallas Goedert. We'll see. Maybe some of these guys will get sniped from us. There goes Lamar Jackson. I was secretly hoping that he might fall to us, but that's not the case. Another quarterback off the board. Right now, the best valued quarterback, bar none, that's been drafted. Kareem Hunt right before that. So again, a backup running back when Mike Davis, I believe, was still available. That kind of just doesn't make all that much sense to me. You look at the guys that are left over, there's still some really good talent, honestly. Cooper Kupp just gets drafted. I was hoping that he'd fall to us, but again, I said that was going to be almost impossible. I'll say it right now for the other guys, so, I'm not holding my breath, but Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, Mike Davis. There goes Mike Davis. I anticipate within the next 3 to 4 picks, so will Deontay Johnson and Tyler Lockett. I look at some of these other options here as well. I mentioned Dallas Goedert. Kyler Murray goes. I was really hoping he would fall to us at the end of this round, at the end of the 5th round. He would have been sensational value. I have him as my quarterback number 2. The fact that he was the 4th overall quarterback drafted here is absolutely bonkers. I think that's absolutely insane. Great value for him. Other players right now that we're looking at, again, Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett, Brendan Ayuk goes. He was someone that I was also considering. There goes Tyler Lockett. That wasn't ever going to happen. Deontay Johnson, even though he is a boom or bust guy, I feel good at the wide receiver position with what I have up until this point. So I would have no problem drafting him. Dak Prescott, I would rather not take right now. I think there's other quarterbacks later on that we can select. So, I'm going to pass on that. I'd much rather at the quarterback position. There goes Deontay Johnson. So there goes that pipe dream. Like I was saying, at the quarterback position, I'm all right taking a chance on a Jalen Hurts, on a Justin Herbert, on a Matthew Stafford. There goes Dak Prescott. So, again, that's not even a possibility for us. But here, this next pick won't take all that much time. We are going to go with Kyle Pitts. I told you that we need a tight end that if we didn't get TJ Hawkinson, which again was a long shot, Kyle Pitts was a possibility. So I'm smashing the buy button on Kyle Pitts. Yes, Dallas Goedert and Noah Fant are ranked higher. No chance in hell Noah Fant should be ranked higher. Dallas Goedert, I could see a scenario, but Zach Ertz is still there. Until Zach Ertz leaves, Dallas Goedert, no thank you. But now we've kind of got some decisions to make, and specifically at wide receiver, there's a guy that I really like in Ja'Marr Chase. I think he's ranked way too low. I do have him ranked above T. Higgins, who Yahoo likes more, but I do believe that connection with Ja'Marr Chase and Joe Burrow is going to be something special. I think he has some really, really nice upside. And for that reason, getting him as a flex play when we already have Julio Jones and Devontae Adams, I really like that. Let's see other ways we could have gone with this. At running back, again, Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette should be ranked about 50 spots lower than this. Him with Ronald Jones and Giovanni Bernard, no thank you. James Robinson, he's very intriguing, I will say that. But with ETN there, it's kind of a crapshoot with what happens at that running back position. So it's tough. I think Ja'Marr Chase was the much better value. Again, we've gotten to that point in this draft where wide receiver just became a very good value. And, I think we can get a Ronald Jones later on. I think we can get a Javonte Williams and maybe even a Michael Carter. All those guys are going to be decent stashes. Right now, though, the best value, bar none, is still at the wide receiver position. Let's quickly look at these draft results after our pick of Ja'Marr Chase. You saw Travis Etienne. I don't agree that he should be drafted ahead of James Robinson. Dallas Goedert, so there goes another tight end. Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones. Again, no chance in hell Leonard Fournette should be drafted ahead of Ronald Jones in any format. So that makes absolutely zero sense. Then Odell Beckham, there you see James Robinson. Good value probably, all things considered, on James Robinson, considering he's going to get a lot of carries. He might not be that PPR guy, but he's going to be, utilized volume-wise, high touchdown upside. Keep all those things in mind. Then you see Courtland Sutton, Raheem Mostert. Raheem Mostert, if he had fallen to us, he would have been a pretty good value. Kenny Golladay is still on the board. Now we've got some auto picks. I do think some of these top wide receivers will start going off of the board. So we're not going to see Kenny Golladay or T. Higgins fall to us. We're not going to see Chase Claypool fall to us. But that's all right. Again, there's some really good value at wide receiver later on. And there goes, again, T. Higgins, and there's some auto picks here, so this thing should speed up. Hopefully, we're not going to see any kickers or defenses. That's what I'm hoping for. We'll make a couple more selections here and then wrap this thing up, probably 2 more picks. But other than that, our roster is getting close to kind of being finished. We're going to get a quarterback. We're going to get a bench player, so get some depth there. But just kind of going through our roster and how this thing panned out, I think our first 2 picks were honestly sensational. Devontae Adams and Austin Eckler. I couldn't have planned that out better, but that's usually the case with the first 2 picks when you have, those extremes when you're back-to-back. It's after that point where it kind of gets a little bit tougher. And we found ourselves in that situation with Julio Jones and David Montgomery. Yes, Julio Jones isn't the Julio Jones probably of old, of 2 years ago, of 3 years ago, but look, guys, when he was healthy last season, Julio Jones was putting up wide receiver 1 numbers, averaging 10 receptions, over 100 yards. Let's not forget that. David Montgomery, yes, he's obviously not going to finish nearly as high as he did last season. No chance in hell. Too many factors working against him. Harder schedule. Tariq Cohen, Damian Williams there now. Matt Nagy being a play caller again. But at that point in time, he was probably the biggest upside running back on our list. And then afterwards, again, we just kind of had to wait. Kyle Pitts, Ja'Marr Chase, I think we did good with the options that we had. Let's quickly look at some of these guys that have been drafted. Chase Claypool, Russell Wilson. So some quarterbacks have started to go. Hopefully Matthew Stafford is there for us. Noah Fant, Tyler Higbee. Javonte Williams, Damian Harris, Justin Herbert, Shark, Juju Smith, Aaron Rodgers, and now I'm hoping that Matthew Stafford lasts here. Let's see Jalen Hurts. I wouldn't be mad at Jalen Hurts. He's got some very high upside. I think the safer pick is probably Matthew Stafford. There's a scenario where I can go Jalen Hurts and Matthew Stafford, but for the sake of not making this thing too long, we're going to just get one of these guys, and I'm going to go with the safer choice. I'm going to go with Matthew Stafford, so let's quickly draft him there. And now probably just going again some really good value. Let's probably get Antonio Brown here. I think at this point in time, this is usually a way I go. Running back wise, there's nobody that I think is great value that would make me pass up on Antonio Brown. So getting our bench play with Antonio Brown, who I think, you could flex him or Jamar Chase. I really like that option. Antonio Brown should be drafted much, much higher. He should have been drafted 3-4 rounds earlier, but we're taking advantage of this difference in ADPs, of rankings. So right now, I think our roster, it's very tough to get an A grade when you're picking at one of the extremes. And I don't think that we have an A grade roster here. It's a 12-team league, so not every single roster is going to be stacked. But I do think overall it is a very balanced roster. Matthew Stafford, he's got top 10 upside in LA with some incredible weapons. Devontae Adams, when he's healthy, Aaron Rodgers throwing him the football, he is a top 5 wide receiver, tier 1 category. Julio Jones still got wide receiver 1 upside. Eckler, cheat code in PPR. David Montgomery, yes, there will be a dip in production, but at the point in time where we were selecting with the running back options that we had, he was probably the best bet. Kyle Pitts, I like where we got him. High upside. And I'm happy, all things considered. I can probably get a backup tight end here. I can queue one up in case Kyle Pitts, doesn't pan out. And then Jamar Chase and Antonio Brown, 2 great picks at the wide receiver position. So let's go ahead and queue up one of those tight ends that we mentioned. And the guy will probably be, someone like a Jared Cook that I really like with the LA Chargers. So I'll add him to our queue. And again, at this point, don't look at ADPs. We've gotten to the point where you're going to start to see defenses being drafted here. There's auto picks. So I'm just pointing out some really nice high upside players that I always really like to target. So let's add him to our queue. And then, let's see if there's quarterback wise. Jalen Hurts is still somehow available. If he makes it to us, even though I don't think there's any way that he will, I would gladly draft him. Right now, the only reason he's still on the board is because we've got a lot of auto picks. So they've started to take defenses. And when that happens, well, some really good players fall. Now, more than likely, what's going to happen is that, Jalen Hurts will either be selected right here, since this team does not yet have a quarterback, or probably right here, or even right there. So either way, though, like I said, we've got our Matthew Stafford. Right now, the grade that I would give this team is probably just a B, maybe a B minus. But hey, let me know what your thoughts are as far as the roster itself. You see some of our queued up players here, so hopefully that gives you an idea of some guys that we would really like. I'll even add some more here. Brendan Cook's a really good value up until this point. Marvin Jones, another really good value as well. So we've got a lot of options there. But with that, if you enjoyed, hit that like button, subscribe, let us hear it in the comment section. And again, check us out online at alldaypigskin.com. Get yourself a copy of the 2021 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. All those details in the description. But in the meantime, we'll see you guys in future videos.